All in Sports Network. We love sports.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday. My name is Davis Wilson. This is All In Sports, All in Mizzou with Rogue Media. Hope everybody's getting off to a nice start to their week. Missouri certainly ended their week on a high note, beating Louisiana at home pretty handedly, and this is what we expected, right? This is a Louisiana team that, while has been a good program of recent years, the talent disparity was too much, and Missouri left no doubt, beating the visiting Raging Cajuns 52-10. And we, as I previewed this game, we knew exactly what Missouri was going to need to do: stop the run, and they did both of those things as well as they possibly could have done them. So we're going to get into that in a second. First, I want to talk about, there was an update yesterday with the AP poll, which I don't like the AP poll. For anybody who doesn't know that, I'm not a fan of the AP poll. Doesn't matter to me because oftentimes you're polling beat writers that haven't gotten an opportunity to watch all these games because they're covering one team specifically. So to me, it's a lot of guesswork from a lot of the voters. And also, the college football playoff poll is the deciding poll now, and that doesn't come out for another month or so. But it is fun to look at these things as a fan, see how the rest of the country perceives your team. Missouri was 25 out of 25 last week. They've moved up 2 spots. They're now 23rd in the AP poll, one of 11 teams to find its way into this week's rankings. You have LSU at number 3. You have Georgia at number 5. Texas at number 8. Texas A&M at number 10. Oklahoma at 11. Ole Miss at 13. Alabama at 14. Tennessee at 15. Vanderbilt, shout out Vanderbilt, at 20. Auburn at 22. And Missouri at 23. And like I've already mentioned, I don't really care about the AP poll, but it does seem like Missouri might be a little bit low here. Maybe. They've looked really good. They obviously haven't really played super quality opponents like a Vanderbilt has. Vanderbilt's now has wins over South Carolina and Virginia Tech. Missouri's best win is a Kansas team that we still don't know exactly, just how good that team is. But 23 seems a bit low. I think this Missouri team, just based on looks and vibes alone, is probably one of the, 5 best teams in the SEC right now. It's hard to say, but that's that would be kind of my guess, at least, because you have the big, like Georgia, LSU, obviously those teams. A&M probably up there. Oklahoma definitely up there. But after that, I think Missouri, there's a case for Missouri over Texas, at least based on how they're playing right now. Vanderbilt and Missouri, I think, are very close. Ole Miss, Alabama, I mean, those 2 teams have looked vulnerable, at least in the first couple weeks of this season. Missouri really hasn't. And Tennessee, I think Tennessee's really good, and they just ran into a about equally good Georgia team. But yeah, I think Missouri's up there. And they've got a test. Well, it was going to be a test. We don't know exactly what kind of test it'll be next week against South Carolina, because Lenora Sellers left the game against Vanderbilt with an injury, and Coach Beamer, South Carolina's coach Shane Beamer, has been pretty coy about how exactly his quarterback's doing and what injury he has. So he did say he's optimistic he'll play next week against Missouri. We'll see. The spread right now is like 13.5 points in favor of Missouri. So based on that alone, I would say right now it's looking like he probably won't play, but we'll get into that on Friday. I think Friday or maybe Thursday we'll preview the South Carolina game. I want to talk a little bit more about the SEC, some stats, go through the results of this week's game, and then we'll really dive into Missouri here. But there's some big games in the SEC. LSU beat Florida. Florida now kind of in a tailspin. DJ Lagway, not only does he not look good, he looks terrible. It is a complete mess over there, and Billy Napier's seat, I mean, his ass is burning now. DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions, 287 yards. LSU's defense dominated. LSU's offense did just enough. LSU wins 20-10. Georgia and Tennessee, the game of the week. This one goes into overtime. Georgia pulls it out 44-41. Tennessee played really well. A tough loss for them. I still think that's a good team with a good offense. Texas beat UTEP, not really as handedly as you probably want. Arch Manning does not look good. That's something to watch. They're still ranked. They're number 8 in the poll, but that seems like a little bit of just kind of a benefit from their number 1 ranking earlier in the year. Another huge game. Texas A&M beats Notre Dame 41-40 on a last-second play. Notre Dame's holder on an extra point messed up a hold. It ends up costing Notre Dame the game. Texas A&M now number 10 in the AP poll. The Aggies are playing well. Their defense, I think there should be some concerns about A&M's defense, but Marcel Reed is the real deal. He threw for 360 yards in that game. Like I said, Vanderbilt beats South Carolina on the road, a tough place to win in Columbia, South Carolina. Vanderbilt does it. Pavia looks good. They ran the ball well, everything. Oklahoma beat Temple on the road. John Mateer looks like a Heisman candidate. Arkansas lost to Ole Miss on the road. That Arkansas defense is no good, but Taylon Green is really good, and he kept him in the game. A&M's backup quarterback threw for 350 yards and also ran for 62 yards. Taylon Green had like 420 total yards. It was not enough somehow. This guy's like Superman out there. It was not enough because that defense is really, really not good. Ole Miss beat Arkansas 41-35. Let's keep it moving now. Alabama beat Wisconsin pretty good. Ty Simpson kind of he and Ryan Williams kind of had a breakout game. Simpson threw for 382 yards. Ryan Williams caught for 162 of them. A good win for Alabama. They are getting back on track after a really rough week 1 loss to Florida State. But since then, they've looked good. And we'll find out more about Alabama pretty soon because they have Georgia, not this week, but next week. They've got a bye this week. They go to Georgia, one that will certainly be, the ABC night game, a huge game. All right, Auburn, who's now number 22 in the AP poll. Auburn beat South Alabama 31-15. Don't have a ton to say about this except for Jeremiah Cobb, one of the best running backs here early on in the SEC this season. Let's see. Mississippi State absolutely took it to Alcorn State. Not really a surprise there, but coming off a nice win against Arizona State last week. Mississippi State's now 3-0 with a ranked win. They've got Northern Illinois this week, and then they have to their schedule gets tough. They have Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, and Texas the next 4 games after Northern Illinois. All right, last one. Kentucky beats a visiting Eastern Michigan 48-23. Seth McGowan, another one of the SEC's best running backs, but Kentucky's defense allowing 23 points to Eastern Michigan. is not something that I think they're very excited about. Eastern Michigan is 0-3 with losses to Texas State and Long Island. Long Island only allowed Eastern Michigan to score 23 points, the same total as Kentucky. Not a good sign for the Wildcats there. It's a tough look. 461 total yards for Eastern Washington, and things are going to get tougher for old Kentucky here. My God, they go to Florida. They go to Georgia. They host Texas. They host Tennessee. They go to Auburn, and they host Florida. And then finally they get a game against Tennessee Tech, which honestly could be the last win on that schedule based on how it's looking. All right, let's get into some SEC stats real fast. And passing yards, Oklahoma's John Mateer, a guy I mentioned already, who I think is a Heisman type of player. 944 yards leading the conference. Joey Aguilar, Tennessee's guy who transferred in from South Alabama, I believe, 906 yards. A&M's Marcel Reed is third with 869 yards. Missouri's Bo Perbula is sixth in the country. In the SEC with 791 yards. Passing touchdowns, Arkansas's Talon Green at number 1. Again, he's doing just about everything he can. It's still not enough for them to beat Ole Miss. Alabama's Ty Simpson, 9 passing touchdowns. Marcel Reed, 9 passing touchdowns. Bo Perbula is tied for 5th in the conference with 7 passing touchdowns. He'd probably be up in there, but he did not play he only played for about 2.5 quarters against Louisiana. Rushing yards, Missouri's man, Ahmad Hardy, leads the conference in rushing yards by a healthy margin. He has 462 rushing yards through 3 games. I'm going to talk a lot more about him in a little bit. Behind the closest one behind him is Auburn's Jeremiah Cobb, 314 yards. So that's a 150-yard gap, 148-yard gap between Ahmad Hardy and the next best guy. And then Talon Green, quarterback at Arkansas. I'm telling you, this guy does everything. He's third in the conference with rushing yards with 307. And then Missouri's number 2 running back, Jamal Roberts, is 8th with 222 yards. Rushing touchdowns, Kentucky's Seth McGowan, 6, leading the way in the conference. Ole Miss's Kejuan Lacey, former Mizzou Tiger, a guy last year that I said was probably the most talented running back on Missouri's roster, but was just a true freshman, didn't get opportunity. He's now getting that opportunity at Ole Miss. He's been excellent. 5 rushing touchdowns. Ahmad Hardy is tied with Lacey with 5 rushing touchdowns. Receiving yards. Let's move on. Mario Craver out of Texas A&M. We know Kevin Coleman, the junior here at Missouri, a Mississippi State transfer. A&M has their own Mississippi State transfer. That's ripping the SEC up right now. 443 yards, leading the conference in rushing yards. Tennessee's Chris Brazel Jr., 364 yards. Ole Miss's Harrison Wallace III, 339 receiving yards. And in 7th place, Missouri's leading receiver is Kevin Coleman Jr. with 258 rushing yards through 3 games. Kevin Coleman is leading the SEC in receptions with 24. Mario Craver in 2nd with 20. Chris Brazel Jr. with 20 as well. Receiving touchdowns, you have Brazel with 5, Craver with 4, and a bunch of guys tied for 3rd. Arkansas's Omega Blake with 3, and the Missouri's leading receiving touchdown man is tight end Brett Norfleet with 3. Moving to defense, we're just going to do sacks here because Missouri's Damon Wilson Jr. is leading the conference with 3 sacks. There are a lot of guys tied here with 3 sacks. You have Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, who I think had all 3 of his sacks consecutively in the team's win last week against, who did they beat last week? A&M. Utah State. I think he had 3 in a row. Maybe it was the week before against UTSA, but he had 3 sacks in a row, I believe. Kieran Crawford out of Auburn also has 3 sacks, and Quincy Rhodes Jr. out of Arkansas has 3 sacks. Those are your SEC statistic leaders. Maybe I'll do this every week, just keep everybody updated on how things are going in the conference. Let's move on to Missouri here. I think there's no way you can talk about this Missouri-Louisiana game without first bringing up how amazing Ahmad Hardy is. I mean, this guy is getting better every week. He only played 2.5 quarters. He took his last snap with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. So less than 2.5 quarters. 250 rushing yards on 22 carries, also had 3 touchdowns. His last carry of the game, by the way, was a touchdown. Let's run through the box score here, Missouri, Louisiana, and then we'll get into some of the stuff that I saw and noticed when I was watching. Bo Pribula, I talked about this in my pregame show. He was not going to have to be outstanding for Missouri to win this game. And he made some big plays, but he wasn't throwing the ball over the yard because he didn't need to. He was 15 of 22 with 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw his first pick of the season, which is probably a good thing. He's gotten that out of the way now. Matt Zoller's got in there, true freshman, 5-star quarterback. He was 2 for 2 with just 5 yards. He played a lot, but they just ran it a bunch because I think Missouri was ready to get out of there and not sustain any injuries. It was hot. They just want to get out of there. Like I said, Ahmad Hardy was outstanding, averaged 11.4 yards per rush. True freshman running back, Marquise Davis out of Ohio, a guy that Missouri added kind of right before that early signing day in December. He was great. He came in with 10 minutes left to play, or I guess less than that, probably whenever Missouri got the ball back after Hardy scored and then went out for the game. Marquise Davis comes in, a 4-star running back. He was ranked the 162nd best player in the country, according to 247. He comes in, he gets 20 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Roberts only rushes 8 times for 46 yards. And another true freshman, Brendan Haygood, who at one point, I believe, was committed to Boise State. He decommitted, committed to Missouri. That's a 3-star running back out of Texas, out of Saxe, Texas. Shout out Saxe, Texas. He rushed a little bit as well. He had 4 rushes for 12 yards. And then Pribula obviously carried the ball 6 times, 5 yards, and a touchdown. Receiving, Kevin Coleman Jr., the SEC's leader in receptions, caught 8 passes for 84 yards. Jamal Roberts had 1 catch for 39 yards and a touchdown. Marquise Johnson had 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown. And that was pretty much it. He kind of sprinkled it around. Norfleet, who leads the SEC in touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, only caught 1 ball for 2 yards. Okay, and defensively, Damon Wilson Jr. gets his 3rd sack of the season. This dude, one of the best defenders one of the best defensive linemen in the SEC. He is as advertised, the transfer from Georgia. Zion Young had 2 tackles for loss. Josiah Trotter, West Virginia transfer, had 2 tackles for loss consecutively. The only other sack comes from Khalil Jacobs, but Dre Norwood and Nate Johnson also contribute tackles for loss. And that's all for the Missouri side. On the Louisiana side of things, redshirt freshman quarterback Daniel Beal, who was kind of thrown into the fire here after Walker Howard got hurt in their week 1 loss to Rice. Daniel Beal comes in. He struggles, man. My goodness. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback struggle this much playing an entire game. He was 1 for 8 with 5 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 4.8. Now, I'm not religiously tracking quarterback rating, but that is probably the worst one I've personally heard of. I'm sure there's worse, but that is not good. Lunch Winfield. By the way, this guy, Lunch Winfield, great name. But also, when he comes in, they kind of have a package for it, and it's called the lunchbox. I think that's excellent. He was 1 of 6 for -1 yards, averaging -0.2 yards per completion or per throw. Somehow that stat line got a better QB rating. He was 38.1. That was his quarterback rating. Rushing the ball, we talked about this team, this Louisiana team. They can rush the ball. We knew that. Missouri did an excellent job for the most part. Really, they just had one broken play that Zylan Perry, one of Louisiana's 2 or 3 really running backs, he broke a touchdown for 84 yards. That was the only touchdown Missouri allowed. Zylan Perry had 5 rushes for 86 yards. So he only had, in the 4 other attempts, he only had 2 yards outside of that long run. Stephen Blanco had 7 rushes for 31 yards. Lunch Winfield, 2 for 13. Bill Davis, a guy that I thought was going to have a much bigger game, only 6 rushes for 1 yard. And yeah, only 2 Louisiana receivers registered catches. Caden Jensen had 1 catch for 5 yards, and Raji Dennis had 1 catch for -1 yards. It's pretty bad. Not good. Yeah, that's all I have to say about the box score. Missouri completely dominated. And if you look at the box score, you can tell. If you're a box score watcher, you do get a pretty good idea of how lopsided this one was. Missouri was 9 of 13 on 3rd down, 1 of 1 on 4th down, 606 total yards, 426 rushing yards. I mean, that is nuts. That is nuts, man. I think this is the second time this season that Missouri has had 2 rushers finish the game with 100 yards. I think that's right. I don't think they did it against Central Arkansas, but Roberts and Hardy did it against Kansas, and now Marquise Davis and Ahmad Hardy both did it here against Louisiana. All right. We got to talk about Ahmad Hardy. This guy is nuts. Right now, he is 2nd in rushing yards nationally. Like I said, he leads the SEC. He's 2nd nationally behind only Robert Henry Jr. out of UTSA. He's also PFF's 2nd highest graded running back on the season, again behind Robert Henry Jr. from UT San Antonio. This guy, I mean, I'm running out of things to say about the way this guy plays. He's just nuts. He's played 3 games for Missouri. 3. And I think I saw a stat from Cole Kubelic, an ESPN guy. He said he's now rushed 5. He has 5 games in a row of at least 100 rushing yards, dating back to his time at Louisiana Monroe. But he's played 3 games for Missouri. He's already 7th in program history in single game rushing. This game against Louisiana ranks 7th among the running backs' best performances. I'm going to read through these here to take a trip down memory lane for all you old heads. Devin West, running back for Missouri, he ran for 319 yards and 2 touchdowns on 33 attempts against Kansas in 1998. In 2003, against Texas Tech, Brad Smith ran for 291 yards and 5 touchdowns. In 2007, against Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl, Tony Temple ran for 281 yards and 4 touchdowns. In 2011, against Western Illinois, Henry Josie ran for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. In 2021 against Vanderbilt, I remember watching this one in my dorm room. I did not want to lose to Vanderbilt. That would have been a disaster. And Missouri would have lost to Vanderbilt if Tyler Beatty hadn't done this. That's the difference in that game and a game like this, where Missouri was going to beat Louisiana regardless of what Ahmad Hardy did. But that Tyler Beatty game, one of the best games I've ever seen, literally put the team on his back to beat Vanderbilt. He ran 31 times for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 6, Devin West, once again against Iowa State. Also in 1998, he ran 40 times for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then here you go at 7. You have Ahmad Hardy in his 3rd game ever as a Missouri Tiger. He ran for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the thing about this game, I mentioned this earlier, but Hardy in the third quarter, excuse the camera there. Hardy in the third quarter he had this rumbling run where he broke like 5 tackles. It seemed like they could not bring him down. It set up a shorter touchdown run. And that was with, let me confirm this. He had a 7-yard touchdown run, his third of the day, with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. So that is 25 minutes of game time. Is that right? Because quarters, no. Quarters are 15. So 35 minutes of game time. So in 35 minutes of work, he ran for 250 yards. Did not play again after that touchdown run. True freshman Marquise Davis takes over at that point and then runs the ball 20 times for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. So let's just think about this. Say this game is competitive throughout, like the one against Vanderbilt in 2021 where Tyler Beatty went off. Say this is a close game, a back-and-forth game where Missouri needs Ahmad Hardy the whole time. Let's just say, for the purposes of this argument, that he takes a majority of the snaps that Marquise Davis ended up having. There's a really good chance that he breaks the record, the single-game record. He breaks Devin West's record. And that's crazy. The craziest thing is that, he played 35 minutes. He played not even 2.5 quarters. Just a ridiculous rushing performance. He runs the ball like he's just pissed off and angry. Good luck tackling him. Good luck catching him when he's in the open field. In that, the number 1 rushing performance in Missouri history, Devin West, that was a close-ish game. Missouri beat Kansas 41-23 that year, but it's at least like you're competitive. If this game's competitive, I think Ahmad Hardy might break that record. There's a really good chance. Even if he plays the whole third quarter and then sits the fourth quarter, I bet he approaches at least 300 yards. I bet he's close. So for the box score merchants, this is the one thing where you're actually getting it wrong when you look at the box score. Ahmad Hardy was excellent, but his stats really could have been better if this game was close at all. Another stat I kind of found here, through 3 games of the season, he's averaging 115 rushing yards per game. Just let's say he maintains that pace throughout the rest of the season. Okay. 12 games total, averaging 154 yards per game. That means he's on pace for 1,848 yards, which smashes the single season rushing record that Cody Schrader broke in 2023 with 1,627 yards. Yeah. So just something to think about. He is on pace for something pretty outstanding. As I was watching this game, I was thinking about, so I started watching Missouri football in 2020. I started going to school at Missouri in 2021. But in 2020, I had a pretty good idea that I was going to end up at Missouri. So I started watching their team. That was the year where they had Larry Roundtree as their main guy. He was an excellent running back. I get to Missouri, and then it's Tyler Beatty for a season. And then after that, you get 2 seasons of Cody Schrader. And then my senior year, you get Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll kind of splitting the opportunity. But that means I've watched Larry Roundtree III, Tyler Beatty, and Cody Schrader, now Ahmad Hardy, since I've started watching this team 5 years ago. That's a lot of good running backs. I think all 3 of the guys, Roundtree, Beatty, and Schrader, at least got opportunities in the NFL. I know that the Jaguars just signed Cody Schrader. I think Beatty's still in Denver. I don't know what Roundtree's doing. I think for a while he was maybe with the Chargers, I want to say. I'm not sure where he is now. All that to say, though, I've seen a lot of good running backs. That's the one thing Drinkwitz has done a really good job of. The whole time he's been here, he's had a running back. He's had a run game. I've seen some really good running backs. I think Hardy is the best one I've seen since I started watching this football team. And I've only seen him play 3 games. Maybe premature, but who knows? Let's see here. Bo Perbula, like I said, didn't need to do all that much, but he did have a couple really excellent plays. His first touchdown was a throw to Marquise Johnson, who reached the ball out over the plane. People thought it was a fumble 6, 100-yard fumble 6 return because Johnson lost it, but it turns out he crossed the plane before losing the ball. That was a nice throw, but his best throw came, or maybe not his best throw, but his best play was kind of a free blitz. I think it was a secondary, maybe a corner blitz that Louisiana put on. It was a free shot at Bo. Kind of makes him miss a little bit, but the guy has his legs wrapped up. And as he's falling, he throws the ball to Jamal Roberts, literally throwing out of a sack. And Roberts scores a touchdown there. So even though we didn't light up the scoreboard, again, he played 35 minutes of a 60-minute game. Even though he didn't light up the box score, he was really good. He also ran for a touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns, an interception, and 174 passing yards. That's a nice day, considering. I don't have a ton to say about the receiving core, again, because they just didn't need, there wasn't a ton of passing because of how much Missouri ran the ball. Like if you compare it, Missouri threw the ball 24 times. Missouri ran the ball 62 times, so not even close. They just pounded the rock. Even so, though, Kevin Coleman Jr., still really good, had 8 catches for 84 yards. He's still the number 1 guy on this team. He had a good game. Real quick, before I get out of here, I want to talk about the defense. This is a defense now. I believe this defense is 5th in the country. 5th nationally in total defense. So that's yards allowed. They're 5th. The offense, Missouri's offense is 4th. They're the only team, Mizzou is the only team in the country that has both offense and defense ranked top 5 nationally in overall offense and defense. That's something to think about. This defensive line is really good. Like I said, basically there was just one play that Zylan Perry, 84-yard touchdown. That accounted for 69.4% of Louisiana's total yards. So if one play is getting you 69% of your total yards, I think that's pretty good for your defense. Just couldn't get much penetration for whatever reason. Blocking was good down the field for Louisiana. And these running backs for Louisiana are good. It was to be expected that they were going to at least break 1. And that's all they did. They literally just broke 1. Damon Wilson, the transfer from Georgia, a big-time get for Drinkwitz out of the portal, is as advertised. I've said it already this year, but he is really good. He's got 3 sacks this year, got another sack Saturday, sorry. Another sack Saturday. He had tackles too. I think he led the team in tackles as well. Josiah Trotter continues to be just kind of a cannonball fired out of a cannon when he's coming in to defend the run or when he's blitzing. He can get into the backfield very quick and bring guys down. He had 2 tackles for losses in a row. Those 2 guys just keep sticking out to me. They keep, I keep thinking about them. What else do I have? The cornerbacks, it was hard to tell. Obviously, they only allowed 2 completions and 4 passing yards. But Louisiana only threw the ball 12 times, 14 times, 14 times. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's obviously a good sign when you hold a team to 2 for 14 passing with 4 yards. Maybe it's a little confidence booster heading into South Carolina next week. What else have I not mentioned? The offensive line. I should have mentioned this unit long ago because they played very well. They were physically dominant, much bigger than Louisiana, and they showed it. Caden Green, really good pass blocking, run blocking, everything. He was the highest graded Missouri offensive lineman. Yeah. Let's see. Who else can I talk about? Joshua Manning, the 5th highest graded run blocker for Missouri. He hasn't probably gotten the ball as much as he's wanted this year, outside of that first game against Central Arkansas, but he's still run blocking. That's a really good sign. Demarion Fulks, another true freshman, I believe, also out of Ohio, a receiver. He played 17 snaps. He was the 6th highest graded run blocker. So it's kind of a trend here. You're getting your receivers to run block, and that opens up so much downfield because Ahmad Hardy's going to break some tackles. And when he does that, if you get some blocking downfield, he's going to break some long runs. All right. Overall, feel very good about this game. The spread was 27.5. I think it was actually 27. Missouri won by 42, I think. So they exceeded expectations, exceeded my expectations, exceeded Las Vegas's expectations. It's hard to not get excited about the way the team looks, and I'm not going to get overly excited about a blowout win against Louisiana. But SEC play starts next week. Missouri's 3-0, and a schedule that, it may have just gotten a little bit easier depending on if Lenora Sellers can go next week. I talked about last week how this game against South Carolina could have been a college game day in Columbia, Missouri. It's not going to be now. They're going to Miami against Florida, I believe. They probably would have come to Missouri, I think, if Lenora Sellers stays healthy and South Carolina wins. But now they're unranked. They drop unranked after losing to Vanderbilt. Shout out Vanderbilt again. Shout out. They dominated. Diego Pavia dominated that South Carolina team. So I was looking ahead. Last thing I have before I leave here. I was looking ahead to see, the other options for college game day, because that's just fun for a city, a campus to get college game day. Missouri has not had it in a long time. They never had it while I was there. I could not tell you the last time they had it on campus. Maybe it was that Texas A&M game years ago. I don't remember, but there's 2 games on the schedule I think it could happen for. On October 11th, Missouri hosts Alabama, who's right now they're number 14 with 1 loss. But like I said, Alabama plays Georgia the week before they play Missouri. And if they lose that game and they have 2 losses, that would mean they're 2-2, right? Or 3-2? 2-2, I think, because they have a bye before Georgia. I don't know if they'd be ranked if they're 2-2. I'm sure the AP poll would find a way to rank them because, by the way, Notre Dame 0-2 is ranked this week. 0-2. They have not won a game this year. Notre Dame is ranked number 24 in the country. So if Alabama's 2-2, if say they lose to Georgia, I think there's still a chance they're ranked, but I don't know if they would, depending on what Missouri does. Say Missouri's still ranked. Say Missouri's able to beat South Carolina and Massachusetts, and they're 5-0 going into that game. And say Alabama beats Georgia, they're 3-1 with probably a top 10 ranking. That's maybe a top 10 matchup, maybe top 15 matchup. There's a chance there. The only other really viable chance here is on November 8th against Texas A&M. who's right now ranked number 10. Texas A&M plays Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, and LSU leading up to that game against Missouri. The only true test is LSU, ranked number 3. If they can come away unscathed and they're undefeated heading into that game, and Arkansas will be tough too. But again, that Arkansas defense is, I don't know. They're going to struggle against Marcel Reed, I think. But say A&M's undefeated up to that point, there's at least a possibility Missouri could be like a one-loss team, maybe undefeated. I don't know. They have a tough slate before that. They have Alabama, Auburn, Vanderbilt leading up to that game against A&M. But that could be a game where College Game Day comes to Missouri. I don't know. Doesn't matter that much. Just something to look at. I know fans want it. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back. I'm going to break down the offense more in depth. We'll look at more PFF stuff. I'm going to watch some film and see what happens. Wednesday, I'll do the defense. Thursday, I'll have someone on. I'll have a guest on, and we'll talk about just a temperature check like we did with Adam last week. And then Friday, I think I'll preview that South Carolina game. So keep coming back. I appreciate everybody who tuned in live today. Yeah, shout out Vandy Owen. That's right. I appreciate all the live watchers. Keep coming back. This will also be up on YouTube and Spotify in a little bit. Thank you to Rogue Media. Thank you to Corey Dickman, all the people there at Rogue. Appreciate it. I'm having fun doing this show. And I'll see you on Tuesday. MIZ.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.